I want to welcome everyone to the Tuesday night board meeting of April 2024. And tonight, my name is Chuck Unruh. I'm the Vice President of Finance. We're waiting for our Vice President to join us at a later time. And our President at this time is traveling, to the best of my knowledge. So I would call a quick roll call here. And
I can do that for you, Chuck.
sure.
Okay. Vice President Bauer is not present. Vice President Pryor is not present. Vice President for Finance, Chuck Unruh.
Here.
Executive Secretary Mike Hoffpower, I'm here. Members at large, David Hayter.
Here.
Member at large, John Fernandez.
Here.
Member at large, Leela Dakan.
Here.
And member at large, Vish Viswanathan.
Here.
And John, I called your name. I'll skip it.
Yes, you did. I'm here.
Okay, okay. And our Executive Director, Renee Bartlett.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I appreciate the help. I would ask at this time if there are any new conflicts of interest. Seeing none, we'll move on. And I would call for the Vice President of Finance, which is Chuck Unruh, for his report. And I guess I should ask, how long do you want this report? Because there's a lot of good news out there.
Let's hear it.
Okay, on with it. We'll start from the back. This will be one of those stories where we'll give the good news and then we'll work backwards. And that is the good news. Our surplus now has grown again. At the end of March or the 1st of April, $1,369,116. There's a lot in this. That is exceptionally good news because we're also $1,563,788 or $1,563,788 above budget. So that means at this time last year when we were budgeting, we thought we'd have a loss coming into April. Well, we're very, very fortunate. And when we break down the components, we realize that we've done really well with our endowment funds, meaning sponsors and donations. They have just been excellent this year. We hadn't it's hard to count on donations to know, do you put a zero in there for 1 year or a couple 100,000, or do you put the average in there? They're always a surprise each year. So that's been a significant part of our growth on that bottom line because we mark the market. Now, the other thing that's been carrying us, of course, on the side of endowments, reserve fund, and life member asset trust is this bull market. This bull market has been very good to us with the Federal Reserve holding steady, not raising interest rates. This is our environment. This is when we do the best for the investments. And in saying that, what results have we had that are comparative to last year? Last year at this time, we thought, according to the TD Ameritrade forecast, income would be $209,000. 1 year now from that forecast, our income forecast, our new one for the upcoming year, is $311,000, a gain of 50%. Now that's cash on cash. That's not counting any growth. That's just sheer dividends and interest coming off of our investments. This is very good news because real money then goes into feeding the events and projects that we have. It's not something that we have to sell or sell some shares somewhere and then fund the event. We fund it out of cash flow. And on that news, the life membership last year, Life Member Asset Trust, the trustees, the year before was $45,000 for reimbursement. This year, as of today, the vote was $55,000. So we're seeing more support from the Life Member Asset Trust. They believe on their forecast that they will make $98,000 this year, and that was included in all the numbers for the upcoming year. Of course, part of that has to go to all the new life members. We have about 50 new life members in the last 3 fiscal quarters. And so those new members are going to be with us a long time. So some of our money has to grow to offset the inflation. What is excess then can be returned for reimbursement to operations for the magazine. I think we're doing about 5,300 magazines a month to the life members currently. So we haven't caught up yet. As the Life Member Asset Trust grows, I'm sure the trustees will also grow the reimbursement. And this is excellent. In the past, we just weren't able to do that. So with the sale of the building, with the $500,000 seed money that many of our past board members worked very diligently to reconstitute the Life Member Trust, we're doing all right. That is, it's at 1.7 million as we visit this morning. At the end of the month, US Chess has a record amount under management, our assets under management, of $5,730,361. So those are all really good news items on the investment side. Now we move over to the operation side, and we find out that this month that we gained 32 or 16,000 in real cash, even with membership month to month comparatively down $30,000. So last February this time we were looking at 290,000 in our last March, and right now we had 240,000 in membership revenue. Now, 1 point doesn't make a trend. We're still 6% higher than last year overall, but I would like to see what happens in April and May and see if a trend sets in that membership revenue is starting to slide in from these record numbers. These have been very fine numbers as we go into budget. It's still all good news there because their cash grew by 16,000 when we had so many things happening at the same time. You know, executive director change. I think we had some governance meeting, and so this is not something to be alarmed about. But part of my concern, and I'll be visiting with everyone, is we know that inflation has swept through the economy at about 18% in the last 3 years. We'll seriously have to catch up since we have had payroll increases, we're having frictional cost increases. And what do I mean by catch up? We just have to think about where will the dues post in the next year, because it takes about a year. I would target January 26 for a dues increase to match the inflationary pressures. Some of those pressures we don't see today because our hotel contracts and that are out 3 or 4 years, but they're coming. In fact, today we have gold at a new high, we have copper at a new high, oil, gasoline's at a 6-month high, as you know, if you stop by the pump. My friends in the cattle business, I think they dance into the coffee shop. They have such high prices right now. Last time I bought a steer, the price has more than doubled now, and that was only a couple of years ago. So we're seeing it across the board. The same people that told us we had transitory inflation are now telling us it's under control. Well, I'm just a little bit suspicious. So we'll know a little more tomorrow. The CPI comes up. And I just hope they're right. Otherwise, this is a wow. When I think about it, our net worth, it has never been better. Does this mean that we have a tremendous amount of money to slosh around? No, most of this money is targeted to events in each year, into growth for those events far into the future. Now, we did recently, as in last week, from donations, we started the LEGO, which is the upgrade of the IT system for our ratings, the ratings part of it, which is really old. And that was a down payment, possibly about 20%, just to get them started. And that came from donations. And I think that's donations has about 239,000 in it. We used 100,000 to upgrade our rating system. I can't think of any higher priority long-term for the benefit of our membership. So that's a little bit about our finances. Now I will ask Renee to comment on operations, what she saw happening this month.
Sure. One thing I want to do is thank Deborah and our outside accountant for the quick turnaround. The end of the month came quickly, and we were still able to hold our finance meeting on Friday while I was at National High School. And the numbers look good. They're still strong in terms of having a 6-month operating reserve. We're pleased with that. Chuck and I have talked about some of the inflationary pressures that we're seeing with respect to what dues is generating. And I'm currently looking at salary surveys to measure how our staff is being compensated compared to industry. And that will give Chuck some other numbers that he's going to need when we really look at what a dues increase might need to be.
A little bit about the income. We're having, at one time, membership was 60% of the income, including our tournaments. Currently, it's about 42%. So our income is somewhat diversified. Yet when we look at the income, that's not the whole story. It's about the profit margin for each sector. Ratings has a real high profit margin. And of course, dividends have a real high profit margin. Other things, not so. I mean, tournaments, if we look at tournaments as an outreach, we lose about 2% a year, income versus expenses. So although it adds to the gross, it doesn't add to the net, but it is part of our mission. And that's the way I see it, is when I sign up for a membership, or my life membership, or my benefactor membership, part of my money goes to outreach, helping with these national events. And I'm just happy with that. And that's the way I always look at it. So other than that, I'm open to questions on the finances. Costs were good, by the way. The expense side was very good. Thank you, Renee. I know it's very difficult when there's so many moving parts.
If the operating cost for membership, if that's come down by about 18 or so percent over the last few years, what is it that's accounting for the increase in the operating? I mean, the increase in the operating income. Is it tournament revenue, or what is it that's doing that?
Well, what's going on is, at one time our IT costs were less than 100,000. Today they're 300,000 to 400,000 easily. Those type of costs.
But that's not I'm not asking about costs. I'm asking if our memberships now is 42% of our income, and it used to be about 60%, is what you said. What's accounted for the plus up?
Oh, I see what you're driving to. Donations and investment income. Investment income, when it's 300,000 a year, is a significant number. And donations on the other side. So that's going to make it look like the membership isn't as important as it was at one time. But we know from 2020 and going through COVID, even with the reduced 400,000 in membership revenues, it was very, very important to this business. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions on finance? Well, things
Great
should level
report, great
out.
report. Thank you, Chuck.
What's that?
Great report. Thank you, Chuck.
Well, you're welcome. It's time to move on. It's okay. And with that, we'll move on to the next. Looks like we have nothing else in open session at this time, so we'll move on to closed session. Welcome back. This is Vice President of Finance, Chuck Unruh, serving this evening as our president and vice president are on other chess missions. So we have been in closed session and carefully considering the business of the United States Chess Federation. And we have one motion to bring to the table, and I'll have Secretary Mike Hoppauer read our motion.
Yes, sir. That motion reads as follows. In support of delegates motion 23-49, entitled Review Information Accessible to Members, TDs, and Other Individuals and Organizations, the Executive Board moves to establish a data quality project with members consisting of Vice President Kevin Pryor as chair, Josh Sinanen from Washington as from the Scholastic Council, as representing the Scholastic Council, Christina Schweiss from Virginia, representing the DEI committee, Larry Cohen, I'm not sure where Larry's from but he's from the TDCC, as well as John Haskell from Florida, to work with the office and the website development team on this task.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All abstaining? Motion passes with 2 votes absent. So that concludes our business this evening. It's been an honor to sit in the president's chair and attempt to run this meeting. And I want to thank everyone for participating in several of these decisions that we have to make in the near future. So financially, we're very, very solid, and these are great times for US Chess, and Renee's working hard as our new executive director, and I'm going to turn it to her for final comments. Renee, do you have a final comment?
I just want to thank everyone for meeting this evening and your dedication to US Chess.
Okay, well, thank you, Renee. On that, I would call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are officially
So
officially adjourned.
yeah,
Thank you.
I'll wait for